In this video, I'll be responding to your comments. Click. XSuper98 asks, in your professional opinion, how would you balance the less effective killers as described in your previous ranking video? I'll go over the 5 lowest ranking killers from my tier list. So Leatherface is the worst of the bunch, because in most cases, survivors can find a window or pallet before he can charge his chainsaw. All he really needs is some extra move speed during his frenzy to make his chainsaw more reliable. Next is Clown, and he's pretty decent with add-ons, but underwhelming without them. I think increasing the movement speed penalty slightly or adding another effect to his gas would make him viable without relying on add-ons. Wraith is also pretty lackluster without add-ons, and his power is often useless during chases. Giving him some utility like faster vault and pallet breaking speed while invisible would help make him more of a threat during a chase. Now the pig, after the endgame collapse nerf to her reverse bear traps, they just aren't taken seriously anymore. I feel like the change should be reverted. She also needs to stop roaring like a tiger while charging her ambush, and only play the effect once it's fully charged. And as for Trapper, the only thing he needs is to start the match with maybe 3 traps to be viable without add-ons. Benedict Cumberbatch says, show what you dislike about the game. Well, off the top of my head, I dislike how survivors are forced to sit on generators most of the trial. Repairing generators doesn't really make for dynamic or engaging gameplay. I prefer how Death Garden has its scavengers take a more active role in objective completion by gathering and delivering blood. There are also more ways for your teammates to support you if you're getting chased in Death Garden. Ronald Coakley asks, how do you survive without self-care? I've found there are 4 ways to survive without self-care. The first way is to bring a medkit so you can heal yourself. The second is to run Iron Will, so being injured isn't as big a deal. The third is to run Bond, so you can find your teammates when you need healing. And the final way is to be stealthy and never get hit. The Holy Best asks, how do you relieve people's pain? The dead don't feel any pain, if you know what I mean. Peepo Ragnar asks, what changes would you like to see done in DBD? One change I'd like is for Mori offerings to be scrapped. I know they're fun, but they can seriously tip the balance in favor of the killer before the game even starts. Moris can remain in the game, but I'd like them to be implemented differently. The Game Changer asks, how to deal with bad teammates. If you think you're more skilled than your teammates, then the highest impact role you can play is to be the team's distraction. Only a good player with a solid understanding of the game will be able to loop the killer for a long time. By doing so, you'll allow the rest of your team to perform lower skill tasks like repairing generators. Yoshi the Kid asks, what's the best build for looping or being toxic? I'd probably go with something like a Purple Flashlight, Dead Hard, Decisive Strike, Adrenaline, and Bond. You could swap out Bond for something like Self-Care, Lightweight, Quick and Quiet, or Iron Will, but Bond is a pretty versatile perk, and is useful when going for flashlight saves or when you need a teammate to heal you. Maximus Prime asks, how do you identify killer builds when playing Survivor? Some killer perks are pretty obvious, for example Hex perks. But for others, you'll have to pay close attention to the killer's behavior, visual cues, or audio cues to figure out what they're using. Equipping perks like Spine Chill, Alert, and Distortion can make it easier to figure out what the killer's build is. Mr. Fantastic asks, how do you deal with camping killers? There's really only 2 ways to deal with campers. Either do generators while the killer camps, or equip Borrowed Time and be the hero your team needs. Nameless says, try Identity 5, I'd love to see your reaction. I did play Identity 5 a while ago, and it was a decent Dead by Daylight clone, but the game looked like it was geared towards a younger audience, and it lacked the atmosphere and realism found in most horror games that gets your adrenaline pumping. Also, with Dead by Daylight coming to mobile devices soon, I'd rather stick with the real deal. Cherubi Jubel asks, can you read us a bedtime story, or maybe talk about yourself? How about I combine the two and tell you a story about myself? Many years ago, I used to play World of Warcraft, and belonged to a guild that I admired deeply. Every member treated each other like family, and I felt compelled to climb the ranks and one day become Guildmaster, or at least the Guildmaster's right hand. So every day, for months, I did everything I could to stand out amongst the rest. I led raids, farmed ingredients for the guild bank, and developed relationships with every member of the guild. While the guild master did take notice, he never promoted me to the rank I felt I deserved. So, feeling burnt out and disappointed after all I'd done, I quit World of Warcraft. About a year passed, and an expansion was released that drew me back to the game. So I logged into my old server, opened the guild menu, and discovered that I had become Guildmaster. Finally, I thought, all the effort I'd put in last year had been recognized. But upon closer inspection, the guild was empty. Its only remaining member was me. Everyone else had quit for one reason or another. I had merely inherited the title by being the last one left. Anger and sadness washed over me as I came to realize that my title of Guildmaster was a hollow one. All I had become master of was a bittersweet memory. With a heavy heart, I disbanded my guild, left the server, and started anew. Sorry, there's no happy ending to this one. So that's about it for these responses to your comments. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe for future content.